Welcome to dojo.live, the place where top minds in travel and hospitality check in to share insights and breakthroughs shaping the industry. Brought to you by Encora, your trusted partner for AI, cloud, and data-driven innovation. Enjoy your stay. Hello, and welcome to Dojo Live. Once again, what day is it? Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Here on Dojo Live, we spotlight the trends, technologies, and people redefining the future of travel and hospitality. I'm your host, Kim Lantis, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-host, America Guerrero.
Hello, Kim. I'm so excited to be here. Hello, Custodio. It's such a pleasure to finally be a co-host in this show.
Yes, she is fangirling Custódio. Welcome back to Dojo Live. Custódio Barreiros is our guest today, a hospitality consultant and tech strategist with very deep operational roots and I think a no-nonsense approach to helping hotels succeed. So it's great to have you here, Custódio.
Pleasure to be here. First of all, pleasure to meet America. Many congratulations on recent news, family news. And apart from potato picking, very happy to be here this morning with you guys.
For potato picking, that was our pre-show conversation. Custódio and I do have an agricultural past. But today we are on episode number 5 of our Empowering the Ecosystems Insights from Hospitality's Tech Enablers. We're going to be asking, is SaaS overload creating more pain than progress? And what can project management do to bring the industry back into balance? But, Custódio is excited we are to talk about potatoes. Let's unpack SaaS overload and project management. Before we do, however, let's start with you. What's your story in hospitality, and why has project management in particular become such a central topic for you?
I think I fell into project management, a bit like I fell into hospitality. Age of 16, I made the fortunate mistake of asking my father for money. And he said, grab your white shirt, your black trousers, and come and earn it. And I've never looked back in the industry where I work today. Worked in operations, led venues, hotels in London's brandings, rebrandings, flaggings, deflaggings. Then I wanted to learn the tech of it because I've always wanted to improve processes. I always believe that maybe the Portuguese in me, let's do things in 2 steps instead of 10, 15 steps, because we do overcomplicate our industry a little bit too much at times. Fortunate enough to work twice with Amadeus, with other brands like Alliance, Birch Street. Very much the companies, except for Alliance on my last project, was companies I actually bought software from. I wanted to know how they operated, to understand a bit more how the industry uses tech or where it was driven, because there is an element of, I can say, in an operation, and I look at the end users. That's my specialty. I've always really worked on that. So my experience has been very much about the humans. How can technology, how can systems, how can all these wonderful things that everyone else in every other industry talks about, how can we use in our own industry? So that's pretty my expertise. I'm not going to say this because I was reminded a moment ago that I'm going to turn 50 in 3 months exactly by America, who was born on the year I graduated from university, which that's how scary it is. But it means over a 25-year career, I'm loving this series myself. I'm an avid fan at the moment of your series, just because you are interviewing not only dear friends who I've had the pleasure to work, some mentors of mine as well, but all former colleagues. So it's a bit of a kind of walking down memory lane a lot of the time.
Like a university reunion.
It is very much a kind of a reunion for some of us. I think at some point there is a special edition here at the end, a kind of culmination, famous Christmas special by the BBC. Let's see if we can manage it for them to listen to us. But that's what I've been doing. For the last 2.5 years, I've been fortunate enough to be where I am at the moment in the countryside in Austria, an hour away from Vienna. We relocated here after Brexit. And that's one of the affordabilities of our wonderful industry. And that's where I've created a consultancy, which a very good friend of mine reminded me on Friday. He created a consultancy by listing all the objections that every client has ever given you over the last 10, 15 years, certainly in tech. But it is that. And I think there is a need for it. And project management has started that way during these last 2 years. Our industry is suffering. all the time. We're the first ones hit by any economic downturn, but it's also from the staffing levels post-COVID. Unfortunately, it's been mad, which means suppliers to the industry have also changed. Not just the employee in the industry, not just management industry, not just the experiential traveler and new world traveler, but the tech supplier itself. I think we've gone SaaS mad. If I may mention the company a bit, Salesforce mad. Everything is now SaaS. We're not in the form industry. We're not out of the box. Every hotel is the same. We deal with so many variables called human beings that we need to understand those. So I don't, and personally, and this is a personal opinion, yes, it is a non-filter. You mentioned very politically correct version of what I'm about to say. I hate it. And I don't why. We are expecting guest room attendants, food and beverage managers, chefs to sit in front of laptops, computers to train on software that we need them to use to deliver. These are individuals that have never sat in front of a screen for longer than 2 seconds replying to a WhatsApp or a Facebook messenger from their mother even. So how can we expect them to sit through a 2 weeks, a week, 3 days of training when even in their own environment, they don't have these devices? So we need to be genuinely take stock of this situation. The software is not bad.
Right.
The technology that our industry is adopting is not bad. So why do project managers need this? To bring all of this together and
Absolutely.
to leverage
You make an
relationships.
interesting, excuse me the interruption, but you mentioned a really great point in that terms of now I think the workforce and this mix of people, individuals who are not necessarily tech savvy, who aren't even using technology in their own lives or not at scale. And then this new generation coming in who's the exact opposite, right? So let's just talk a little bit about the SaaS era rolling up, so as we set the stage here, and why do you think that has happened? Why do you think the project management's been scaled back too much? And we already talked a bit about the result, but what's happening as a result of scaling back too much?
I think what's happening is I think it's really, we have to take it back even a step. I think we need to get these providers in front of the end users who need to use their software. So then software is built, but services are built accordingly. Scaling back for the same reason, tech providers are also suffering with staff members and experience to deliver this kind of training. This is not someone who can come in without hospitality experience and go, okay, go and deliver this software. A CRM in hospitality is very much different than a CRM in any other environment. Although it may have the same name, but it's very different. And then if you start peeling off layers of segments and departments from service optimization, back of house, procure to payment in our industry is very much different alone than the normal procure to payment in medical, for example. So you have to think of what the industry is affecting, the domino effect through supplier to end users to buyers and so on. It is also more profitable, of course, just to sell subscription. We appreciate that. We know we all live for a business. Hotels also a lot easier just to sell bedrooms instead of having to worry about banquets, food wastage and management. But however, there needs to be found a balance for everyone to be successful. And I think that's one of the things. I think the great stories of, as I mentioned, Salesforce, we all use it, so we all know it, but others in the tech industry like that, unfortunately, it's very hard to replicate that. We all know there is a lot of LLMs and differences, but does it fit our industry? We need to find the medium. We need to find balance. And because every group, every hotel, every location, a property in Mexico from Melia is not the same as Melia Palma or Melia London. Totally different. So we need to do. And if you're providing to those, you should know those differences as a provider. And that includes us, the consultants, by the way. It's not just the tech providers. However, the project management element plays a massive role because they're the ones who can keep the stakeholders, how can we say, on point, delivering. Because if you don't have that ownership of a project, it's never going to be successful to start with. Does the hotel have the staff and the knowledge to do so? No, not at the moment, unfortunately. Not everyone. Some do, but can they like you say, can they leverage that knowledge when they also are heading a department, running a property, and so on? So there is a lot more pressure on those individuals. So bringing someone neutral who's not pushing another piece of software, not creating an imbalance, but coming in to deliver your objectives. Someone who can speak to a provider, someone who can speak in the same language to the property, and be in a way, I can say a negotiator. We're talking about hostage negotiator. That's project management. You have to translate what a tech provider is telling you to a hotel. Take it back from the hotel into the tech provider and say, listen, this actually needs to be the features that we need to adapt, personalize it. So I fell into that role because for some reason, because of working both in hotel operations in the past and then as tech providers, I seem to understand both. And that's really how I fell into project management. But it's becoming more and more in areas, especially in the key areas where there's a level of personalization taking place. Project managers are much more key because it's not just the project management. We then assist with SOPs and post-implementation support, which a lot of our providers don't have the capacity to do either. To provide those. We've had the massive shake-up post-COVID, and recruitment hasn't been the greatest at all levels, from providers to hotels.
I totally agree, and I can see based on the 10 minutes that we have chat with you that you have having hotel operations is your literal blood. No one needs to tell you that hotels are full of non-desk workers facing unpredictable situations every day. That neutral person is need to be important to be around the project management and everything. But what's one real world example of how poor implementation or missing project oversight can go wrong on the ground?
I think it's poor preparation from the beginning, and some providers unfortunately do try and shorten because it's easier for the provider to shorten and just quick deliver, get an out of the box implementation. I think we need to take a step back and be honest. I've seen recently where during a P2P project, a team now has to go back and restart a rollout, which a very well-known provider unfortunately couldn't deliver because they delivered just an out of the box. And it wasn't the fact that the truth is the hotel group wants to use that provider. It's not to change it. But the post-implementation was super, super important. And I think we lack in an industry, and I say this even with tech providers I've experienced with, is we need to understand that it's not just installing, going to the next one. That's the dream world. Pay subscription, install, next. Subscription, pay, install, next. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Hotel today, unfortunately, suffers from many different angles. And you said the variable is the human being. So that kind of experience, don't get me wrong, it helps people like myself, project consultants, to go and assist. At the same time, it's not something that we prefer to go and assist with other objectives because it's not their fault. It's the company's decision, and everyone has to kind of cater. The hotel had to Russia didn't have the exact team members on training either. So it's a massive thing. And that's where, if you have someone there who's dedicated to that project and say, okay, we do need everyone here, can we get everyone? And it's also learning how to do it without upsetting the operations, which is super, super hard. Don't get me wrong. That's the biggest obstacle for me, is getting everyone right. I'm not going to take people off shift here. Let's try and do. So by the time I finish the training schedule, sometimes it will look a mess from the beginning because you'll have 2 here, 5 here, but I have to think about what else is getting around. There's still a world happening constantly. Other industries can take a day out of the office. Doesn't really matter. It's all that 24/7.
I see. From your view, Custodio, what are you seeing the biggest gaps between hotelier needs and what technology providers actually are delivering?
So I say this to every tech provider or technology provider: stop reading LinkedIn, stop reading the news, stop thinking that AI does this or the other. Get on the bus, get on the car, get on a flight, go and speak to the hoteliers you want to sell to. Go learn your market, your localization. You won't do any better learning than actually knowing what's happening on the ground. We can all read trends. We can all read this. I'll say this. Your country, for me, was a wonderful experience when I first went over, because I speak Spanish as a Portuguese, maybe badly, or very antiquated Castellano. as someone reminded me recently. But the truth is, I didn't know anything about Mexico. And yes, I had my own assumptions. You read a totally different experience when I landed and helped with a project. But if it wasn't for me going, I'll still be sitting here today, 10 years later, thinking those thoughts. We need to go and speak to the end users. There's one thing about our industry is a triangle. The person at the top signs a contract, then the rest need to use it. If you're building for the rest to use it, go and speak to those first, and then get your contract signed, because then you'll have a partnership and a successful relationship and a continuous subscription. That's what you want, to be fair, as a tech provider, instead of having a contract for a year, cancelling, and another provider comes in. There's a fault there.
Absolutely. I'm hearing a lot of what you're having to say, Custodio, that is aligning with what Melissa Jerquois got to talk about last week on dojo.live. And what was interesting is that we were talking about this, you and I, pre-show, about how on a recent consultation that you did for a hotel, you came to a perhaps surprising conclusion for some, and that is that they didn't need new tech, right? Because Melissa also touched on this, like, oh, something's not working, buy more, buy more, buy more. But rather, they needed to use what they already had more effectively. So how can hoteliers pressure test, I guess, their tech stack before jumping into something new, especially when resources are limited or internal pressure is high? And I guess the opposite end of that same stick then, on the vendor side, to make sure that they're helping to support what they've already sold, and not, not in addition to gaining new clients, which is everyone's goal, but keeping the ones that they have.
I think there's an element here. First of all, be honest, be brutally honest. Be me for 5 minutes, maybe. Maybe that's too honest. I think there's an element of, let's just take and start from scratch or bring something new. Again, we're not that type of industry. There's a lot of data. Sometimes it's needed, don't get me wrong. Sometimes you do need to replace tech, and we've gone through the on-prem to, to cloud and so on. Is it something needed all the time? No. And I did something. One of the things I've done when I started my company, I said that I wanted to remain truly neutral, no vendor partnerships and so on. Happy to work with any vendors, of course, if the client so wishes, because that way I can look at it from the outside in. And this was very much so, as we discussed. CTO was like, well, we'd get rid of this if it's not working. I said, but the staff are like, we don't actually need this. So the group hired me to go in and just review. And again, it was literally switching on a few features, running a couple of upgrades, which no supplier wants to lose a client. So leverage that. Speak to your suppliers. They may have that feature there. They may be on the roadmap. I think there's an ownership on everyone and accountability that if your suppliers don't know what you want of change, or if your objective needs have changed, how are they meant to help you in the first place? So as hotels, speak. Don't be afraid to ask. The same as a salesperson. Did you make that call and ask? You'll be in the same spot, even if it's a no. Actually, are you? No, you know that person's not a no, so you carry on. It's the same thing with that suppliers relationship. And suppliers, are you checking in on your clients? What are you doing post success management? The famous CSM, customer success management role. Melissa's a great friend. Totally agreed when I listened to her talk. Very much so. Ask the questions you may need. There is also a different point, and maybe we'll come into it later. If I'm reading ahead, I apologize. But for me, are you trying to change just to impress your neighbors, that your competitors, now you have this as well? So look at your objectives overall from day one. Be honest with yourself. Check with your suppliers. Your suppliers want to grow. Help them to grow. They'll help you to grow. That's what I always say before you get change, because you have to think about 40, 60, 70, sometimes 200, 300 end users that have to learn a new application, learn a new ways of work. Is it needed? I would say it's a 50-50 really, but for me, it's been often more a 75-25 that you don't need to change suppliers.
So everything is around learning and communicating. And flipping the lens to vendors, how can they better communicate their value and build trust, especially when implementation can't or at least shouldn't just be a video tutorial or help doc. I see that there is more than that, right?
Many coffees. For me, it's many coffees. Caffeinated, decaffeinated. There is one thing. Vendors have got a responsibility to keep manuals updated, instructions updated, learning materials updated. If you keep someone on the same version of your software for longer than 2-3 years nowadays, you are falling behind as a vendor. Be honest with your clients. Speak to them. Learn their needs. If they are giving you a monthly fee, a yearly fee on a subscription, why not ask them what else do they need? Keep them engaged. Share best practices. Share case studies. You shouldn't just share a win with your prospect. You should share a win and a case study or a roadmap with your existing clients. They're just as important. We are in an industry that's about guest experience and loyalty. So why are the vendors not doing the same in reverse for their guests, the hotel groups, the hotels? It's not difficult. I don't believe it to be difficult, but I've done it and I've proved that in certain environments, maybe company structures, I don't know everyone's company structure, so I can't comment. But if you expect the hotel guest to be loyal to your hotel, then expect that hotel to be loyal to you by you providing the same level of service. I try to simplify things, and both in operations and how I do things. And it's your responsibility to keep your clients informed of what you're doing if you're going to keep your clients.
Absolutely. It sounds like this interesting balance between, let's say, old school and the more human approach that's still necessary. But the reality is we are in a digital age. So I do need to ask about AI. I know you're not opposed to it, but I also know that you've also called it the buzz around it a bit of a comedy, which I think is quite interesting. So what's your take on how AI should realistically be treated in hospitality today?
So let me go back, and before everyone kills me, before all the companies I work for are all developing AI assistants, and I can see messages. I've just seen a message on WhatsApp already. But AI, let's slap it on everything. AI will make the world better. No.
Gluten-free.
AI is an employee. AI is an employee, right? We have to think of it as an employee. We need to teach it. We need to fine-tune it constantly. And I'll say this openly to any hotelier. I think there's a great use for AI. There's some wonderful AI tools out there. But don't just say AI. What are you doing? Is it an automation you need? Is it a chatbot you need? Is it something to assist a monotonous task? Checking a spreadsheet to end of day, balance sheet. Brilliant. But you need to train it, because your end of day balance sheet is not the same as your next door neighbors. So I use AI for some stuff, and I've learned it. And my son, who just graduated from university, I've seen his use of AI in education, not to finish his dissertation, hopefully not, but in a sense of some of the analytics he's done on human geography. Amazing, different industry. And I think we can leverage a lot of that in our industry. But we have to educate it. Otherwise, it is going to hallucinate or just give you the wrong data because you're not provided it with that data. However, there's a key thing about AI and the human. Are we investing in our humans? Are we maybe doing the same to AI that we've done to the end users in our industry, which is just hope for the best, tell them what to do at the first day, and hope that in 20 years they're still doing the same job? That's the risk with AI in our industry at the moment. We need to invest. It's an employee. Yes, we can switch it on and off easier. There's no HR disciplinaries. There's no pension schemes. There's subscription. There's more tools, more connectivities. So it is a wonderful tool used correctly. Every human being, if trained correctly, will also do his or her job. However, there's the great thing about AI is AI can do 5, 6, 7 jobs in the same location and help a hotel. A human sometimes has to go 2 or 3 jobs to survive. So we need to find the right balance between the two extremes. That's my personal.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I feel very, but yeah, I do obviously have my views on AI. But I do think it is wonderful. Back of hours, I'm thinking like where I spend my days, because I spend my days in the basement and underground a lot of time in operations, which it's my world. I love it. But even in the front of house, I've seen traditionalists like the Clay Door starting to use AI in technology, but to an extent that may surprise a lot of our listeners in our industry. So brilliant. And they are educating it, they are learning it, but you still need that human touch. Never forget, if you invest in AI, invest in the humans as well, because you're going to need both to deliver what you want. That's where my comments come from. Don't forget, this is not to replace anyone. At least I wouldn't like to see it.
Absolutely. I hear you talking about striking a balance between innovation, impulsiveness, especially when it comes, I think, to the buyer side, having to pressure test your current tech stack and also keeping up. I mean, we have this rush, I think, to compare what they're doing next door, what they've done over here.
Yeah,
is
correct.
that a good thing to try to keep up with the Joneses, or is there something that we need to step back and be like, all right, that works great for them. What's going to work best for me?
Exactly that. So there's one thing. I think if you're keeping up next door, you're just going to copycat. It's just a replica. If you're going to be unique, if you're going to create a unique experience, every hotel will pitch best guest experience. We're going to create a unique experience. Then, what are your objectives? Before you buy, before you decide, before you do, really your objectives. Do you need a 25-meter pool? Do you need to go through all the work of putting these features in? What are you trying to provide to your guests? What's going to make you? What is you? We have 3 people on our call. I'm sure we will welcome people in our homes very differently. And they'll still feel very welcome and warm because of our backgrounds. Yeah, we do talk from the potatoes pre-call to the coffees to the graduations. There are all common grounds, but we're very, very unique on our approach to life. And that should be the same as a hotel. If it's a group, yeah, you copy. You've got the Novotels, the Holiday Inns, the Marriotts and so on, who are the same brands, and you want to replicate that globally. That's different. If you're doing then localization, then be you and look at the objectives for your property, for your ownerships. There are budgets, of course, and don't get me wrong, we all wish to have everything. Do we need it? Is your guest, your true guests, going to use it? If you're looking at your guests' ancillary revenues, what they're eating, what they're doing outside of your property for you to bring them back in, then that's different. Because you're looking at the people who stay with you, not just because your neighbor next door's put a Portuguese restaurant, you're going to sell custard tarts the next day. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah, it's not the same competitive intelligence versus copying, which is analyzing the competition, making smart decisions around that. Custodio, I'm curious. Looking ahead 12 to 24 months, what's one emerging opportunity or shift in project implementation that excites you the most in this industry?
I think the word hybrid is going to come into play a lot more. Personally, I've loved that. You have a guest coming on. He's spoken to you guys before, and as a great friend, someone who I look up to a certain extent, Greg Hopkins. He's the first one who I really read about pushing in something I truly believe in. Him and I, for the over a decade, we've known each other. I mentioned about the human, the upskilling element is needed in our industry, and I think the industry is waking up to that. I was in Dubai at the Hotel Guest Experience Forum last week. That was the hot topic. It wasn't just about technology, it was about humans. What are you doing to... It sounded sad to hear it that way, but it is very much to bring the humans back into hospitality, but not the guests, the employees. And it's something I've been, from the day we first spoken on this show, was very much it's the human. For me, I don't start any project without starting with the humans. Even when it's about analyzing tech, right? What do you think about it? And I was with that particular hotel I mentioned beginning, chatting with the general manager, CFO, who are friends of mine. And then I went back and they went, where are you going? I said, I want to meet the delivery receiver guy. because he's the one using the tech. You guys don't use it. You read the report. Don't even read the report, because one of them, I know he has a coffee at that time in the morning. So it's that kind of, and we are honest about it because we've all grew up together. We'll work together when we started our careers. I think that's one of the things. I think we're going to see that coming in. We need to attract the right talent into our industry. So we need to find the right balance. Kim, you mentioned about the young employee of our industry, tech savvy, coming in, hence the hybrid environments. I think is super important. And I'm seeing that in where I was last week in the Middle East with one of the Giga projects. They are investing just as much on the employee journey as they are on the guest experience. And that's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I was super stoked to see it. And I hope they continue to deliver it. And it's not just a marketing ploy, but that's one of the things. I think we're looking at more out of the box scenarios for AI as well. There's a lot happening in our market space. I've seen some new companies coming in. Looking forward to see that. But I think what I'm enjoying to see more is more and more people talking, not just Melissa and Greg and everyone else who you're bringing here, all colleagues and dear friends of mine. But I think that's why we all work really well together. We always started at the human, and I think that focus is seen, but others are now talking about it as well. I'm not saying we started. I hope we did, so then we can get some brownie points somewhere, or a free coffee. But I think definitely the humans coming in. I think a lot of there's companies exploring new learning ways, new education ways coming into our industry to bring in a semi-human approach as well, and using AI not just with the connectivity with the guest, hotel guest, but to kind of a shadow to each employee. I read an article about a company that's doing that at the moment, that they're building the kind of AI assistants for every role in a particular hotel. I would love to see how that goes, because to support the team members as they go along in their duties, I think that's will be super clever to see. But early stages, but very much looking forward to see that. I'll keep on banging on about the humans.
Absolutely. It aligns very closely with what we've been talking about today, bringing project management back, striking the balance, or in other words, hybrid nature of technology with humanity. If a hotel wants to do project management right, or a vendor as well, where should they start? What should that process look like in making that determination? And who
they should call all your guests from this week's. All of your guests you're bringing in for this series to start with, and we'll all tell them the same. Let's grab a coffee. I think that's where they need to start. I think it's beautiful. You can get a wonderful PowerPoint presentation, Gantt charts, and so on, and make PM look really, really cool. Find their objectives before you do. Speak to project managers who are not going to influence you by swapping a piece of software that's working already well for you, who are not pushing a software brand and are wearing the shirt a bit like an F1 race driver with all the different logos they represent. Truly independent. Come in and look at your business for what you want it to deliver and help you deliver that. Start with your people, then build everything. Additionally, if they want to do it correctly, make sure it's not someone who's writing a statement of work, takes a check and leaves. That's the worst thing for project management. Someone who goes in, researches, writes just scope of work, after speaking to your team, after speaking with you, after speaking with the providers you are engaging, you, the hotel, because you're the ones who are going to have to deal with those providers every day, is not that project manager. So ensure you are happy as well to deliver that. And the project management has a plan and puts a plan in place for him or her to support you continuously. It's then down to you if you wish to accept it, but it should be someone who engages from A to Z. We want to create a full guest experience from pre, during, post stay. Make sure your project management very much mirrors that. That's my personal opinion.
And right there, that's the quote from today's episode. I love it. And that is a wrap of our conversation. Half hour does fly by fast. A big thank you to you, Custódio Barreiros, for reminding us why solid project management is still mission critical in hospitality. Now, if our audience wants to connect with you directly to lead that charge, or to learn more about your consulting work, what's the best way for them to do that?
You literally your LinkedIn, obviously, with a name like mine is very easy. As soon as you put in Google, you'll get into my LinkedIn profile immediately. You got my website, which was obviously on the show, EIP-MGT.com. You'll find me also in different forums within the industry, but very much LinkedIn is on my website. Other social media is there if you prefer. And you're able from my website to literally schedule a call with me. First call is always free. We always engage and go through that. I believe it to be fair because the same with project management, make sure someone that suits and matches you, I think is the same way. But I appreciate your time. Pleasure to reconnect, Kim, of course. Talk everything from agriculture to hospitality. And America, again, many congratulations on your recent newborn and pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, it is awesome to be here with you. And he's also on Instagram, viewers.
I'm everywhere because I've had my son at the age of 18 when I moved here to literally create all my profiles. I do apologize for all the content looks the same, but and I do write the posts myself as I'm a literature graduate. I'm not even an hospitality graduate. The images may not be myself, but the content is. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think you guys have been brilliant with this show, and carry on doing what you're doing. This team, I think, is brilliant. I know colleagues of mine and friends very much feel the same. So brilliant to be part of this journey.
Means a lot. Thank you very much, and thank you also to our sponsor Encore, who makes these amazing conversations possible. As a reminder to our viewers, Encore partners with leading travel and hospitality companies to accelerate innovation through world-class engineering solutions. And a thank you to our audience. We wouldn't be here without you. If you enjoyed this conversation, please don't forget to check out past episodes at dojo.live. And you can also stay up to date there, talking about up to date and what's coming next. This is maybe like the 17th time we've mentioned this man today. I'm not sure, but we are going to be speaking with Greg Hopkins, longtime hospitality tech leader and strategist. He'll be sharing his bold take on why the industry needs a new consulting model, how vendors and advisors alike can raise the bar. I think it has a lot to do with the before, during, and after stay. So that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific. Until then, stay curious, stay innovative, and bye for now. Thank you, Custódio, America.
Cheers. Bye-bye.